out there. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to the Holy Hour podcast. This is the bi-weekly All Cure podcast. I'm Gavin, and I'm excited, very excited to introduce Clarke.
Hey
man, thanks for joining us on this episode.
Hey, turn on a dime.
Yeah. I used to try to do really long intros and stuff, and everyone's just like, "What?" And I'd probably say something like offensive. Oh, never heard of Clarke. He's not in the discography. But yeah, he isn't officially connected to the Cure. Yes. But a good friend. We're here. We're gonna hash out a wonderful episode that technically chronologically fits into usually we're like we got the albums going in order and stuff, but then we kind of splash some little whatever's in between, but technically this fits because we're going to talk a little bit about Galore, which would be the next one after Wild Mood Swings. Yeah. So but we figured, who wants to just hear about Galore? Let's throw the whole fucking thing together and do Standing on the Beach versus Galore.
Oh no!
They don't have to battle. But we're going to compare and contrast. Thanks to Clarke for being here.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for having me.
Man, this, like I said, this is a little bit different for us because it's a Friday night. This is me having a crazy Friday night.
I know, yeah. It's almost past my bedtime already.
Yeah, so it's like playing a show, or we're talking about the Cure. It's like everything I love in one day. This has been magical. But yeah, usually when we record, the majority of them are like Sunday nights.
Oh, wow.
Monday nights, actually. I mean, and like even worse, where everyone's just like, hey,
yeah.
So
I was just reminded I had to work today.
Yeah,
and, I just got it done.
Here we are. So yeah, so this is party night for us.
Nice. Yeah,
for me, anyway. This is my idea of a party. But yeah, thanks so much. And we're looking at these fine albums here, and you know, I know that Clarke's a talented musician and
thank you,
and all around great person. So I was very excited to get you to hear these technically volume 1 and 2 of singles albums from The Cure, as the listeners out there might be aware of if you're downloading this. I'm assuming that they're aware. But yeah, not a huge, like, everyone loves to kind of get the Cure disclaimer. You wouldn't say you're like a diehard Cure fan.
You know, I was searching for it, like mad at my house, because you made a playlist for me for like my 25th birthday, 24th birthday, and there was a Cure track on it, and it wasn't on either of these. And that was the first time I heard the Cure.
Really, the first? Wow.
Yeah. Shit. I mean, I'm sure I'd heard like certain songs just on the radio, like here and there. Yeah, that's what I was curious of, like, if you had any, like, Cure experiences leading up to that, or this, of just, like, so,
like, it's okay if it's negative, too,
no,
that one little pasty fucker in high school.
It was actually really weird now that I'm thinking about it. It was Blink-182's self-titled album. Yeah. They had a track with, is it Robert Smith?
Yeah.
Robert Smith on it. And I hated that track because I was in middle school. I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't even know what I liked really at that time. And looking back on it, that's actually a really good song.
Yeah, I dug it. I was like surprised because he did a few like little like duets and stuff around that time, and I was like he did like an unplugged thing with Korn and shit, and I was like, what the hell? And I'm still pretty like ugh on that, but like
for sure.
But that was surprisingly, because I wasn't very big on Blink-182, and still not really, but I mean, nothing really against them, but at the same time, but yeah, I was kind of surprised. But a later album for them, right? Isn't that like?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Their self-titled was like after all of the hits, right?
Yeah.
They got all the hits done with like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and Enema of the State, and then sometime like 2004, I guess. I don't even know.
Yeah,
but
it must have been around then.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool song. It was weird. A few of the, like, the other like actual single, I guess, of Blink-182's was all like spiders in darkness. You could tell they were totally into the vibe. Like, this is gonna be our Cure album.
For sure.
But
I think
all of
when
this,
they recorded that song. Yeah.
And then like when he kicks in, pretty cool stuff.
I think when they worked with him, they were huge Cure fans. So whenever they got the chance, they would like.
It was
exploding.
Pretty sweet.
Like, stuck in the teenagers' brains, but like,
I could totally sympathize.
For sure.
Like, I had like one duet song with Robert Smith on my album. The whole rest of it would just be like in darkness and spiders.
It's like, he came in like a ghost. Yeah. We recorded a song, and now I'm just a little bit more Robert.
It's hard to go back to just like well, God bless him.
Yeah.
But let's go.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love you guys. It's the next podcast, the All Blink-182. It's probably the first time Blink-182's ever come up that early in a. It has come up, but not early. Well, that's cool.
Glad I could help.
So yeah, like on these two collections of singles, there's definitely, and we'll get into singles versus greatest hits and all the weirdness there. But so yeah, kind of cool. So the whole like radio movement of like love song and Friday I'm in Love, not too familiar back in the day.
No.
Awesome. That's even cooler.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I really wanted to get your perspective on like stuff that just wasn't.
I guess burned. For a little perspective, this album came out in '99. Galore.
97.
Yeah. For perspective, for both you and the listening audience, I was 6 years old.
Awesome. Yeah, I was trying to do the math, and I was I didn't want to assume anything. but it was cool because it's close to like I was like 10 or 11ish when Standing on the Beach came out. So like the first time around when this came out. So yeah, much younger, but that's great. I love the perspective, and so yeah, it doesn't make sense. So like when Standing on the Beach came out, 1986, where were you at?
I was wasn't in the womb. Like my brother was born in '88.
Okay.
And yeah, I think my
parents.
Around. I was the little baby at the end of 2001.
On the cloud. Yeah. Awesome.
Just hanging out.
Oh, that is great.
Oh my God.
I know. It's crazy. Like, but before we even dive into all that, your background, and so you have siblings, right?
I have an older brother.
Wasn't quite sure on that. Older brother. Cool.
He's like 2.5 years older than me.
Awesome. Cool. Did he big musical influence? Just to get your musical background history.
Not really. No, not really. He listened to a lot of like metal. Like, kind of just like thrashy, riffy metal. And honestly, at the time, that stuff made me very nervous.
It makes me either anxious.
It's something I got into whenever I got into college. I would go to like house shows and see.
Yeah, everybody goes through a metal phase, I guess. Not me, somehow. But I know that I'm like not regular for that.
It's pretty fun.
It's probably,
it's mostly fun because you just like, if you really feel like it, you can just go and thrash around with everybody else. And otherwise, you can just stand back and watch everybody thrash around. So.
Cool. So it wasn't your main musical influence then? Because it always seems like siblings or a good friend. What is, like,
I had a friend who got me into certain things in middle school, but it's like nothing I'm proud of. The first band that I was a really huge fan of was Linkin Park.
Okay.
After Hybrid Theory and Meteora came out in the early aughties, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I was very into both of those albums. Nice. And I'm still kind of into them.
Yeah, cool. Like... Were they a Ross Robinson by any chance?
Ross Robinson?
Is that his name? I was screwed up. He was the dude that, like, recorded first Korn album and stuff like new metal and stuff like that.
They were like new metal, for sure.
Because he was like big time producer, and he did like the Cure album in 2004, which strangely enough we were just talking about was a self-titled album, way late in their career. Like who the fuck? Yeah, like maybe they got the idea.
They're mega fans. They're definitely
taking pointers from Blink-182 and my least favorite Cure album. So we'll see. But that one's on the horizon. But I just wondered if there must be something to this dude that people loved or something.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know.
It's captivating.
Yeah,
hearing him sing just like all the different stuff he does, and he's clearly like
for Linkin Park.
We were talking about the Cure, but
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I love the Cure. They're great.
Yeah, just like hearing how much he focuses on like getting the sound right to what he wants is like clearly an obsessive personality.
Oh yeah, and I think even sampling these singles collections is like the epitome of that too. Yeah, these are like his like I don't know. They're a strange band that way too. So, but. Again, teasing before we get to the Cure.
Yes, sorry.
No problem. La. So yeah, like, was that your main, like, what would you think growing up? What would be your...
I would say, like, just generally, like, extra aggressive, kind of heavy singing, like, simple guitar rock, basically.
A rough voice?
Yeah, like a little screamy, little yelly, but mostly, like like just very loud tones, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, you might like that self-titled Cure album.
Yeah?
It's a little more aggressive.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend earlier about the Cure. He's a huge fan. Of course, I'm surrounded by huge Cure fans, and I'm just like,
they're great.
Clearly they're good for a reason. I was talking to him about it, and just hearing how much people love the Cure and like get introduced at different points in their life and still are attracted to it.
It's just weird how all over them. Something I just keep learning throughout this podcast of like how all over it is, and how every diehard fan even has a different perspective of when they got in on it and what they go back and love, and like everybody has their little favorite eras. And I guess it's just like any band that's been around that long, you know, and it's like
40 years.
Technically 40 years. They just had their big anniversary. I mean, the last like 10 haven't been very active other than live shows and stuff, but as far as like new material, but yeah, they're definitely active and sound great live still and everything. But
he doesn't sound like he's really straining himself out.
Nah, I mean, if anything, he's almost better now. I listen to some like bootlegs, and he's almost like better now. That's awesome. Just probably because he's like a little less intoxicated or something, you know. But at the same time, it's his voice hasn't lost a, you know, they're hard songs to sing. I've said that a billion times on these shows. Like a lot of them are just like way up there.
And plus, he's doing some really weird
shit. Yeah, he's like, it's like, he's not like taking it down a few steps, which would be fine too at this point. You know, he's almost 60.
Yeah,
so
I mean, Robert Plant did it.
Yeah, you have to at some point. So take it up. Yeah, he could stretch it into like the hundreds at least if he bumps them down a few keys.
Definitely.
But it's just great, and like that's why these singles collections I think are really cool, because you kind of see the highlights, or what would be considered single-wise highlights of each era leading up to this, and even this, cutting out at like 97, there's still a pretty good chunk after this, you know, so pretty cool. So that's maybe we should just dive on in, unless there was any other big. Who would you say is your all-time favorite band though? Like, just to give some
favorite
musical
band.
perspective.
Probably Built to Spill.
Yeah,
probably.
Awesome.
Like if I had to like pick a rock and roll band that I could listen to it. Probably
Were you at the show recently? I went. Oh no,
was it good?
Yeah, it was great. Cause
did Algiers open for them?
It was like a drummer, standing up with tap shoes and stuff.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. It was like because I didn't catch their name or like any other bands were playing. There was like a New Belgium, the beer company is here in Asheville, and they did like kind of a festival thing, and Built to Spill was headlining. It's awesome, and I've always just kind of had like. I always liked them, and I had like pieces like MP3s and shit, but not like too many proper albums and stuff. So I was definitely familiar with them, but at the same time not like diehard fan by any means. And
you can definitely get into it with that band, because that band's kind of like that's 20. How long have they been around?
Seems like a good chunk, because since that show, just about a month or so back.
I think that band has been around as long as I have. So like almost 27 years.
Yeah, they definitely had it down, and they were just like not there to chit chat or anything. They're just like, we're dudes, we're playing your like, beer festival.
We put out another album because we're still on Warner Brothers. Like they keep paying us, so
and it was great though. But I mean, and that's always like a great testament, and that's what I kind of was hoping with that band. And like when you see a band that you sort of know, and then they totally win you over live, and it just sounded great. And even songs I had no clue of what they were like, this is fucking rad, you know? It was like, it was a good, it was just like, it was super hot that day too. It was like when summer was supposed to be officially over, but it was still like 1,000 degrees and drinking beer, and I'm like, oh god, this is why I hate festivals. But at the same time I was like, this is so cool. And like it was an open field, so kids were just playing off on the side and shit, and yeah, really cool. Let's shift back to this band that you'll never see in Asheville. It's The Cure. Charlotte is as close as they've ever come.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, so looking at these singles collections, it's a little strange, but just on the surface to clear up, Galore straight up singles. Every single released from 87 to 97. It's a good 10-year block. All the singles. Standing on the Beach gets a little weird, just in the definition, in the sense that when it was released, vinyl and cassette in 86, right? Mm-hmm. So all the singles, same idea from when they started, and technically 78 with Killing an Arab through 85, Head on the Door. But that was released on vinyl and this awesome cassette, which happens to be, this isn't the copy, but in front of us. But the first thing I ever bought of The Cure, like me and my brother, was one of those deals where like, yeah, there's some pretty cool songs that our friend had, and like, let's go in halves on it because I don't want to commit to this band. I might not like
it. If I don't like
when I'm 40-something years old, I might not be listening to this band.
And now you just pay your favorite artist pennies every day.
So I got this tape with this old man on it, and so that's Standing on the Beach. And then there's the CD of it that came out later called Staring at the Sea. Okay. Really, the whole Staring at the Sea was supposed to be the VHS that went with this and had all the videos.
Oh, okay.
And so really, I think that's all that existed before the CD. So if you get the vinyl and stuff, it's Standing on the Beach and everything's standing on the beach, but then Staring at the Sea is like visual, so you're staring. They're all taken from lines from the Killing an Arab first song, and but yeah, they call the CD "Killing an Arab," or they call the CD "Staring at the Sea," and you were saying you did have a little trouble tracking it down, like online and stuff. So I was curious of like what the fuck is floating out there in the digital version.
It was really weird. I wish I'd written down the track list now that I know that it's not the same as the original.
Yeah, and it's a little weird. It's only different. The CD's different in that they added 4 songs, and the tape had all the B-sides as on the B-side of the tape, which was super rad as a kid because like I didn't really even like, I just kind of assumed I knew what a single was even. I mean, I was like 10 or some shit. And like, but at the same time, I don't know if I really knew or cared. So it was all just like songs to me. Yeah. Plowed through. And it was like the perfect example of like listening to the first song was the one I bought it for. Killing an Arab was like, that kicks ass, man. That's cool. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, Boys Don't Cry. That's awesome. Like, and then like, it was like one of those ones, every song made me like it, and I just kept going, and then like when it got to like In Between Days and Close to Me, I'm like, this is fucking perfect. You know? I may have even thought this was like one album.
How did they put all of these awesome songs on one album?
And then the B-sides, I mean, The Cure's kind of known for having great B-sides too, and there's just like so many good ones, and yeah, so I loved it. It was like full package with the cassette. I didn't have the vinyl as a kid. And then the CD, they added those extra ones, which still confuses me because they call it the singles, but there's like 4 tracks that aren't even singles, but they're like, nobody's going to argue with them because they're like good ones from those albums. But like in the 80s, they would just put out like one single from the album. Just kind of like, well, let's throw these extra songs on there because we had the room for a CD. But it kind of like defeats the purpose because there's like all these songs I grew up thinking, because I listened to the CD because it was around that time. So it's like 10-15, Play for Today, even all of them seem like they're singles. Other Voices and A Night Like This aren't even actual technically singles, but they're on the singles collection. And they even made videos for them for the video thing, which usually means a single, but there's no like 45 or release of it as a single. And somebody out there can further explain that a little bit more. I don't know, maybe like in Europe.
Records anymore.
Yeah,
it's so confusing.
We're back. But anyway, so the first little batch is pretty fucking confusing that way, but it's still like their whole bulk of the career there in the sense that it's weird. And that's kind of what we're going for with a compare and contrast to Fresh Years, you know, somebody that hasn't dwelled on these like since middle school like me. And just seeing like, because it's weird in the sense that the first one is 7 albums worth. The Cure was just cranking out albums for this first thing, for Standing on the Beach. So it was like 7 albums versus Galore, which comes out and it's 4 albums. Wow. So it's only 4 albums, but it has like
7 albums,
almost the same amount of tracks. So both of them have like Standing on the Beach has like, or Staring at the Sea is what I went by. It has 17 tracks. And the CD Galore has 18 tracks. Yeah, so way less albums.
That's crazy,
but almost the same. So so it's kind of weird. But
so is it like they were just pulling from a smaller pool for the second one, or were there like bigger, some really bad tracks?
I think by like 87, and the Cure's fame was really kicking in by 87, so they were like a big band. So like each album would have like 4 singles on it, and like looking at the first one, it was like 1 single from each one, you know, and they were just cranking out 1 a year. I think even by like 87, like at that point, they start putting out albums every like 2 or 3 years, and then eventually by every 4 years, even by the end of this. So there's a lot more like even though it's like almost the same time span, but like
that seems pretty normal.
So, yeah, it makes sense, but it kind of affects as my ears are like of like the variety and stuff on it, you know, even though they get a little kookier by that one, you know, but at the same time, it's strange. In general, do you feel like any new band then, since they are fairly new to you? I was curious of like greatest hits versus like if you hear about a band, would you be more likely to check out a greatest hits first or find like their classic album and hear that?
Probably find the classic album.
Yeah, that's definitely the smarter way to do it.
I think I've tried to do that with The Cure before because I subscribe to a music streaming service as opposed to buying albums. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just go on there, I'll look at a list of like the 10 best Cure albums, like objectively, like, these are the best ones.
You can usually kind of get it narrowed down to their main kick-ass era of like where everybody's on board. Yeah, like, this is fucking great.
For sure. And I think it was like Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, probably. And these are just albums that I downloaded onto my phone and probably never listened to. Right. But like Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, one called Pornography. Yeah, probably like those two if I had to guess.
Okay.
And I have friends who are huge fans of The Cure who I've seen like little things from, but like generally like it's something I tried, but I just never got around to it, I guess.
Well, they're such a weird band in the sense that a lot of people just straight up call them a singles band because they have such big like singles and stuff. Or like you could just have these two singles and be totally happy your whole life and never have to hear any more Cure. But, like, I think the flip side is, like, they are, like, fucking great, especially those early albums of, like, cohesive, awesome albums. Yeah. And, like, whether it's something you want to listen to or not is totally up to you. But they totally always, like, flow. That was, like, the weird thing that we talked about with Wild Mood Swings was, like, the first time it was, like, an album was like, whoa, this is all over the place. Yeah. But, like Pornography is one that everyone loves because it was, like, the dark era in, like, the early 80s where, like, everything was, like, kind of the, like, definition of like goth shit, you know. It was like a real heavy but I mean if you liked, you know, Why Can't I Be You or something, you're probably not gonna really get into that. I mean it's weird that they're a very strange exception where they straddle both worlds and make you technically everybody happy where you got people that love, and that's been like
but not everybody happy all the time. That's interesting.
But really maybe still enough where they still like them, but people always tend to lean one way or another. I've found with like Cure fans where people always like the kind of darker stuff more and then kind of go, ugh, Friday I'm in Love. Or there's people who are just like, no, the fucking hits are they're great. They're great catchy pop songs. And, you know, and I kind of feel like I fall right in the middle because
that's probably the best spot, honestly.
I think because it's like the poppy stuff is what hooks you in, you know, and like that's how I felt for it. And
why we listen to music is for the hits, and then you know something everyone else doesn't. Once you get into it, and you're like in on a secret or something.
Once you are able to dissect these like singles albums in particular are great because it's like when you realize that's like the one from that album. That was like what I kind of when I did catch on and I went back and like found all the old albums. Like, oh shit, this is the one from that really dark, weird song that's on there. You know, because I mean, early on, some of these like singles wise, like Hanging Garden and stuff, are like, you know, it doesn't really. Just because it's a single doesn't mean it's a hit, you know, and that's like a huge define. Like none of these are hits technically, going all the way up to Galore. Like I don't think anything was. Love Cats was a fairly good hit for them in England, but like none of these are anywhere close to a hit, even though like Boys Don't Cry is like a song that everybody knows now, you know, but it's like didn't do shit chart wise or anything. It's really weird. A lot of these, and you see like their whole shift in their career where they start kind of like going for some singles and stuff and a little poppier and stuff like that. So it's kind of neat.
They start kind of aiming for it.
So I always think back to there's like a Kids in the Hall sketch. But, I think it was the Doors one where he's like trying to tell you how to be the ultimate Doors fan. No. And he says, he's like, you gotta love the Doors. And like somewhere in this whole rant, he goes, he's like, and don't just buy a greatest hits album. It's like greatest hits are for housewives and little girls. I always think of that, but it's like at the same time, you know, it does get kind of a bad rap, you know, especially if it's singles like this, because it's like it is a good way to kind of just see what is considered the best song from all these billion albums.
It's a really cool way of
it's not the coolest way to do it, but at the same time, it is very efficient.
It's it's a way of archiving what you want for the future.
Yeah, and seeing.
It's I guess putting your best face on.
With the best song, because there's plenty of bands where. We've joked about that in the past, even like a band like Psychedelic Furs that I love. You get their greatest hits, like half of it I'm like, ugh, skip it. It's like, and this is supposed to be the best shit, It's like if you get like an actual album, there's like some total duds in there, and it's like, but maybe not too, if you get the mood or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I think any song can be good if it hits the right person at the right time. Like the worst songs, I can name a worse song for sure if I wanted to. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
So
we don't put those people
Let's just talk about the kid.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess in comparing the two albums, like we said, there's definitely a lot more variety on the first one. But then on the second one, did you catch that in listening to it? Like, we're just like, so. What's going on?
The only thing I would say, as far as like variety on Galore, is that there seemed to be a switch when they went from like synthesized arrangements to like full brass arrangements and stuff like that. They even had like a swing remix thing on there. Yep. And I was just wondering if that was like a marketing thing. They were have you seen these other bands? They're making a lot of money dressing up in zoot suits and stuff. Like, we should hop on that.
Yeah, for the billion hours we just spent on Wild Mood Swings. I know exactly what you're referring to. We never even incorporated the whole swing revival, and that was around that era too. And it's weird because that was a huge thing with that one album in particular that has 4 songs. Galore has 4 from Wild Mood Swings. And I'll try not to dwell on it too much for any listeners that has been listening to us to go on for 8 hours. But at the same time, it was a weird, cool. I mean, it was different in the sense that they did switch it, like you're saying. But I think a lot of that Cure sound was the fact that they did use synths for strings and stuff. And that's why it sounds weird. Because we're so used to... Because they're so good at it. Normally, you hear, like, synth strings and you're like, ugh. But, I mean, they always made it work. And, like, especially the first part of, like, Galore, like, the Kiss Me and Disintegration in particular is just all synth strings. And it should sound weird, but it sounds fucking cool.
I definitely... As far as sound, I prefer the horns.
That
sounds crazy. This is proof that I'm not pandering to your is that I kind of like the swing songs, honestly. I thought they were cool. I was just like,
cool to hear because that was the real deal, and I think that's why it was just a little unsettling to a lot of Cure fans because you're used to just hearing like bam, 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 on like a synth or something more than like full on like the 13th is the one, and even the single selections from Wild Mood Swings we thought were just weird because there was like a lot of. That whole album just like wasn't cohesive. It was just like shit. It would be like this weird. We called it alt salsa or something, and it's just like that. And then it'll just go into like a normal Cure kind of somber song or something, and then like
I think just the arrangements are so good. Just the like hooks for those synth or horn part. So cool. I think you could probably play them on any instrument.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And they probably did while they were mixing it. They were just like, let's try it on guitar, let's try it on horn, let's get by the end on the 400th hour of mixing.
That was probably the most fun I had listening to both albums, was hearing the little synth hooks or like guitar hooks and just being like, I have heard this before, getting like a little reminder just on how catchy those hooks are.
Cool. Yeah, they're pretty good at that, I think, where it's just like, the songs got you before you even start singing. That's pretty tough, Sure. It's just like, it's not an easy thing to do as a songwriter, it's just wow, you just got them with like some cool little... It's just like sweet.
If you took the hook away, it would just sound like... like 3 dudes at a bar or something, and then you add that hook and you're like, this is a fucking song. It's really cool.
Did you have a preference then, just on the top?
I definitely like staring at the sea.
You like that one?
I just thought, as far as like what I like the most, I just thought that really fit more.
More in the mood.
I think the biggest thing that blew my mind was, I think it was Is it A Forest? Is that like a really early single?
Yeah.
I think that track came out the same year Unknown Pleasures came out by
Joy Division.
Yeah. And that blew my mind when I realized it was like, those guys were like contemporaries, but they knew each other. Like
they opened for the Cure. Everyone's like, oh man, that show would have been awesome.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I think Ian Curtis was pretty depressed all the
time. But it's pretty rad.
Hearing that song and just like, especially having listened to Galore quite a few times,
seeing where it goes,
and then hearing just how simpler the songs seem to be, you know. They always had a really interesting rhythm. Like, always had like very interesting sort of like, I don't know, like the like fast strumming. I don't know. I was trying to think of it earlier.
Yeah, he's got a crazy strumming hand. It's like, especially by like in between days and stuff at the end, it's like, like, whoa, that's all. It's like even when people just cover, it's like you could do like half of that, and it still sounds
fast. I would say Staring at the Sea, even though I've listened to it like 2 or 3 times. I would say like I'm probably going to listen to Staring at the Sea a lot more.
Yeah, I mean it is the bulk of like that. It's a 10-year block of somebody's. I mean, and in so many parts of that, when you look at it, they could have just stopped and been like a totally normal band and probably like made a career out of just milking those 4 albums for the rest of their life, you know? Because it starts out with like kind of the post-punk stuff, and then it goes into like the dark shit where like you don't really see much of that on the singles, like Hanging Garden and Primary and stuff, where Other Voices, where it just got like super like heavy-ish, you know? But then we see like the first dynamic shift where like after Hanging Garden it goes right into Let's Go to Bed. That's like the first weird like, because that was like when the whole band kind of just fell apart and he's like, fuck it, I'm going for this pop hit, and I was like what you see more of on like Galore, because that kind of got the ball rolling for that stuff, and you do like Love Cats and shit like that. And then eventually throughout the albums they would do like half and half, like Kiss Me at the start of Galore is like Why Can't I Be You and shit that's like way like boop-a-doop-a-doo, and everyone's like, some people hate it, some people love it, and then you have like Just Like Heaven and shit you can't deny. Really.
I thought it was a really good opener for an album.
Yeah, it was funny too. As much as off and on I am about Why Can't I Be You, Galore proves that it's like a great opener, strangely enough. Where like it's just like it's like whoa shit.
I think just like how immediate it starts. It feels because it's just like a bar of drums and then and then like then you're hooked on it. And then the questionable horns come in. Then you're wondering whether or not you like the horns or the synths.
Yeah, that one I'm not even 100% sure. I might still be going with the synth horn for that one. But it's definitely gets weird quick on that one, and then like I said, it just stretched out so much more on Galore than the first one, because it's like so many different albums on the other one that just like
there was definitely a point in Galore where I think it was probably about a little after halfway through that the songs kind of started sounding like samey, sort of like this could like you could change the words, the backbeat, and it would still kind of be the same song, you know?
That might be the Wild Mood Swings in this after where it kicks in, where everyone's a little like, I don't know. But it's interesting for sure. So definitely better darkness, you think, on the first one? Or,
I would say so. Yeah. I would say so. There were things that surprised me about the first one. Yeah. Like, I think the song The Caterpillar.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of that song.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is very different.
That was like a one single from one album that is, again, like, even compared a lot to Wild Mood Swings, where it was like a lot of weird, like, world instruments and just like a lot of variety like for a Cure album. It was like,
if it came out in like 2011, it would be like the new indie Baroque folk band.
Right. That would be like their whole sound, you know, but this was just like one weird single.
I thought that was like, just hearing that in the middle of these like, at times like really, not sludgy, but like really saturated low end, guitar sounds, and then hearing that, it was... Honestly, it's a huge turn. I kind of really liked it, shifts and all that. It's like way more
noticeable on that one, I think, because the other one is like just the album soaked out, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's pretty weird. And even like Head on the Door, the last few ones on Standing on the Beach kind of fit in Galore's time frame more, like In Between Days and Close to Me.
Yeah,
probably could have been just on that, and it would have been, you know, obviously you can't rearrange the history of whatever. But, but and it's weird too, the effect of these, just history wise, of like, because that's when they started to break big in America, and they put this out to kind of catch everybody up, the first volume, you know, and that's like people like me were like, whoa, what the fuck, who's this band, you know? It's like, yeah, they've been around for like 10 years, and it's like,
that happened to me with the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I got the whole greatest hits.
It was like they had that commercial, like whenever records sold for money, when people would sell records.
After Under the Bridge one? Or?
It was, they produced a single for the Greatest Hits album, but it was mostly stuff from, if I had to say, like, probably the early song was probably from Mother's Milk or something.
Okay.
But that was, I got into Red Hot Chili Peppers in high school because I liked how, I don't know, how much variety there was.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of my first albums, was buying that off of the, like, order today, like 1995, 20 hits by Red Hot Chili Peppers
from the TV.
Yeah, I was like, Mom, will you call them? And
I want this Red Hot Chili Peppers album.
Yeah, why not? And then I got really into them, and now I'm like, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are bad. You know, it's like,
definitely hit that point.
It's the classic. It's the classic turn where we're all like,
wait a minute.
I still definitely appreciate the time I spent with you guys, but I don't think we should hang out anymore.
It's like a nice breakup where everybody's happy. It's like,
you guys are super rich. I don't have to listen to you anymore. Everything's great.
Yeah, it's weird, and I guess that's the good and bad thing of greatest hits / singles. I don't know. What do you think is better, like a greatest hits? Because they ended up putting out a greatest hits like a little ways after this, where it was just kind of a condensed version of these two. But I don't know. Like, it's weird because you can see why they don't want to call it a hits, because none of them are technically hits. But at the same time, it's like, so I think it's better to do a singles collection.
Like we should.
Yeah, and it's a good way to kind of. I feel like it is kind of a loophole where you can't put out like a greatest hits without it being like this is our best shit. You know? It's like,
I think with a greatest hits album, you can probably pay more respect to the fans. And like, I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna like start taking people's opinions and like have like a write us in with whatever song you want on the greatest hits album. It's like all of a sudden they have a PO box that's over full. But I think with a greatest hits album, you guess you get a little freedom to like choose tracks and exempt certain tracks that you wouldn't want.
But do you consider it your favorites, or as the artist, or would you stick by the hit side of it? I mean, like,
probably favorites with that, because then you can just say anything's a hit.
They're
already lying about singles, so why would they just lie about hits?
True. Because, it's weird, some of the ones they didn't put on the actual greatest hits from that. It was like Pictures of You wasn't even technically on one of them. Like, how the fuck would you not put that on there? It's just like every time I look at it, I'm like, what? But, I don't know. It is weird. I guess there's no real right or wrong, and everyone's going to have some problem with whatever's on there. But
once you get into, like, talking objectively about songs.
I saw some interview where Robert Smith, when they were putting out the greatest hits, he was like, talking about I think he kind of did lean more towards like what were like the chart toppers of the best, you know, these, like if he was going to cut one, it was probably because it didn't chart high enough or something. But at the same time, you know, he was kind of just meshing these two together. But then he's like, ideally, I would love to just put out like another one too of my favorite Cure songs, because those weren't even singles or, you know.
What label were they on?
Hard to say about the greatest hits. I think it was still technically Elektra, and Fiction was like their English label forever, and like then Elektra mostly through the US, but and that's eventually.
You'd think after like this, I mean, they 1978 to 1997. You'd think the label would be like, you can make another one.
Yeah, totally. I know. Yeah, you would think, and I think if like the US, like the foreign stuff did change quite a bit, But yeah, I mean, that's, and you know, for the most part, they were pretty lucky where they had a ton of freedom to do whatever the fuck they want. to some, I'm sure he probably stressed out over a lot of shit, but at the same time, you know, I mean, they should have just been like, whatever. Come on, dude. What the fuck? It's a CD. No one's ever going to care about them in like 10 more years.
20 years, people are going to be buying vinyl.
Yeah, they're going to be buying the same shit they bought the first time around. But yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. Did you have any big thoughts on either?
I mean, just like song by song, I thought they were. I thought
I guess highlights and lowlights
had something to like to offer.
Yeah.
But there were just like a few songs that really stuck out. Like there was, I think like the 335. I know this is getting into it, but the 335 moment of a forest.
Okay.
When that guitar just turns up, where you can kind of hear him
strike
it in the studio, and then it turns up. I fucking
just
cool. For me to hear that, I was like, it's like Bridge Over Troubled Water or something. It's like the third verse where the like
just
takes it up.
Because it is such a robotic kind of song where it's just like and it's cool if it just stays in that trancey feel, but then it just kind of snaps you out of it a little bit. You're like, oh cool. Shit, I
love that moment.
They did some like massive pulls a few times, and strangely enough, between all the huge singles and the crazy dark shit that people love, like depending on what side of the nut farm you live on the Cure world of, like, it was kind of surprising. I thought that like it won, like Forest would be like the one that people were saying like the best all-time Cure song and stuff.
It
is a great song.
And I think I have seen a video of like, I think it was like their first television performance or something where they're playing the Forest.
I think that was like officially their first video.
My friend Sergio is this huge Cure fan.
Awesome.
Like, he used to
get him in and all three.
I'll look you up for sure.
Totally,
for sure. He's got a lot more to say than I do.
Awesome.
But he used to play like house shows all the time, and he would always play like Cure songs just if he didn't have a song to fill in. Like, he would just throw in a Cure song. But we watched the video for The Forest. They played live, and I was like, he's not dressed funny.
This is like
that guy's not all in black. And he was like, this is before he went crazy. And I was like, crazy like a fox? Because right there he looks like a normal guy. But then he starts wearing a giant black t-shirt all the time. You remember that guy. Normal guy here. Giant black t-shirt. Here.
Yeah, there's something to, you start hanging out with Susie too much. It rubs off, I think. Next thing you know. Yeah, they're all just got their little button-up shirts. Yeah. They look more like Joy Division look, going. And it's, that was a weird dynamic, because the sound was shifting already by that point, where they were getting into that, like, definitely sound-wise, but, like, it's funny when you see those videos, they're just totally, like, bunch of lads, just like little dudes, little nice boys with their button-up shirts.
Like, it's nice to be reminded that at one point they were all just friends and wanted to be in a band.
For the most part, it stuck around until.
I mean, once again, I don't know anything about the Cure.
Right,
they could have not been
hung in there for a while, but
they could be an industry plant for all I know.
We'll go into that another time. But the friendship side of the Cure,
the conspiracy episode,
they did pretty good. They got a good run. People think that there was a lot of more band change by the later years than there really was, but he kind of always had like people coming in and out based on shifts, and just then it started out as a 3-piece, you know. It was like pretty solid, pretty quick. They got their bass player that's still with them. He came and went a couple times, but then then the drummer was the main thing. He was the dude that shifted from drums to keyboards, then had like a huge alcohol problem, just became the extra keyboardist, and then hung in there a long time. Then they finally let him go, and he sued them, but now they're all buds again. And he actually put out a autobiography and stuff, or memoir, I guess. But it's really good just to hear the whole story of it, because he was kind of the dude that got, painted into the tragic figure of the Cure. He's like the co-founding dude that grew up with Robert Smith and stuff.
That's cool. I'm usually a rabbit hole guy where I'll like learn about something and dive in. But I figured since I was doing the podcast, I was like, I'll go in without knowing.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I don't want to go in there with just like a list of facts and be like, look what I know.
I'm almost the wrong guy to ask. I'll be like, so you got 3 more hours? We got 900 albums? Hours of... So, yeah, I mean, but, yeah, so it's like standout moments then. I guess Forest definitely your takeaway highlight.
I thought Forest the Caterpillar was so good. Yeah. Just like a breath of fresh air after like these really heavy, low-ended songs.
Yeah. Did the synthy weird era, like Walk and Let's Go to Bed, stand out as weird, or did you? Because they were like probably the most like stereotypical '80s at that point, where it was like
yeah.
Like Walk's almost like kind of like a Blue Monday feel to
it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they stood out, but it's probably just because I don't know that much about them.
Yeah, but that's cool. I was just curious.
I honestly thought both of the singles albums, I thought they kind of transitioned really well. And kind of fit really well. The only thing I had questions about were the swing thing.
Yeah, like
it
just fits into exactly
what way out, and they were like trying to
Maybe
fit in.
Depends on how you talk to
it. Yeah, I was just like so curious. I was like, why are they doing that? Because...
And that's what I was saying earlier, like the single choices even from that album were what we went on and on about, or we were just like, why that song, like that Gone song, which like ba-dum, 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 like Gone. It's just like this, wake up, it's just like, what the fuck is going on?
I think the first time I listened to that, I was like, I fucking love this song. Exactly. This is fucking wild. There. I thought that was really
like,
good.
This is amazing. They're like, I don't know. And even like Hot and stuff, because you get all of that on Galore. It's a little weird because it's like all the ones that people either just like love it or hate it big time, you know. And it's like, but I mean, there's all the Disintegration singles, which are like, you know, they're fucking, you know, where they're striking with iron hot. Like Love Song is technically their biggest hit ever and stuff, and Fascination Street, Pictures of You, of course. Lullaby was their biggest English hit. I think that one's like spiders and shit, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
182 was so into. I think Catch was probably, as I was listening to it, Catch was probably my favorite song. Just like
on Galore,
my first few listens to. I think so. I was like, there's just something.
That one kind of actually feels like it should tie back into the other one a little bit more because it is a little more toned down.
Yeah, it felt like it fit here because it was so. I don't know. So the first track is Why Can't I Buy You, and it's got that crazy guitar line where he's just fucking jangling away on that shit. And then Catch comes through, and it's just this. It's like it's like low key, but also sort of hype at the same time. I don't know, like the pacing of it's really good.
Yeah, it takes it down. It's like got the violin and the brush drums and shit. It's just nice.
I think it was that beat, just the rolling. Yeah, I love how that just can drive a song all the way to the end.
Cool. Yeah, it's a little all over the map for that one.
It really is. It really is. Like thinking back on it, having listened to it like probably a half dozen times at least in the last like 2 weeks.
Any definite lowlights? Like ones that you're just like, this is complete dog.
You know, I think there were some songs on Staring at the Sea that I kind of checked out on.
Yeah.
I think like The Hanging Garden, I had a really hard time I had a really hard time connecting to that song.
Yeah.
It almost seems like the song and the lyrics were like written at different times. It was like they had the music and he probably like, I just gotta do something. I gotta finish this song. Like I need a second single from this album.
That was from the super dark pornography album. Like that's the fall into the walls. It's like, what are you getting on about? And it's funny, because when my neighborhood friend that initially liked The Cure, that was like the one that I kept hearing that song and I'd make fun of him. He's like, fall into the walls. Woo, that's crazy. And I was like, that's dumb. What is this shit you're listening to? I was like, Men at Work, that's where it's at, you know? But then like I kind of was like, that sounds kind of rad, you know? And then like each one I'd kind of check in a little bit more on, but it was funny because that was like the first song I'd specifically remember of The Cure, of like technically hating, but liking it enough where it stuck in my head. But it's a weird one. That's all the lyrics on that album are just like, what are you talking about? That's where he's like, it is like Prime, like slashing spiders and skin, and it's just like, whoa, what the fuck, what?
Where it's like more oblique, like harder to understand, but like more image heavy. Where it's just like, I know what all these images are, but what the fuck do they mean? Yeah, when you add them all together, it's a weird monster.
Yeah, and, I'm sure he's got something behind it.
Yeah, of course, something.
Maybe not. Who knows? Yeah. But any lowlights from Galore then, for sure.
Some of those
later.
Weird.
What'd you think of that last track? That was like the one new song.
Wrong Number.
It was like recorded with Reeves Gabrels, who's actually their full-time guitarist now, but he played with Tim Machine and David Bowie and stuff, and he met him like at a big David Bowie birthday bash they did together and stuff. Cool. And hit it off and came in and played like the guitar for that and did like a song with the Orgasmo soundtrack. You familiar with the South Park dudes? Yeah. And like in that session, apparently, I think they did Wrong Number, which a lot of Cure fans are kind of torn on too. Some really love it, some really hate it. But
I honestly, in the whole track list, it's hard to remember, really.
Yeah. It's more guitar cool because it gets away from like the horns and shit from the other singles on there, but it's a little just kind of throwaway lyrics, maybe.
Gotcha.
That's always like lime green and tangerine.
Oh,
it's just kind of like it flows, but I'm not really sure what the fuck you're talking about. But at the same time, it's pretty cool.
That was definitely the gist of The Cure that I got from the two albums. Is that Robert Smith is very connected with making the music, but it seems like lyrics, for the most part, are secondary to getting the sound that he wants. I could be totally off. I mean,
a bit.
For sure.
Yeah, I keep kind of going back and forth. I mean, he definitely writes in a weird style, or weird to me anyway, because a lot of times I'll just come up with lines like for my own songs or whatever, or like I want to incorporate that line, I'll think of the words first almost, and I write the song kind of about the words. But he, like, if you listen to like a lot of the reissue albums have like the demos and shit on it, and like all of it is just like he'll pretty much write the whole song out, and then even like the recording process, a lot of times he'll have it all done and then just kick everybody out of the studio for like a month, and he just goes in and gets into his fucking world, and we're finding out more and more. A lot of it's pulled from like literature and stuff, so like a lot of time people think it's just like, oh no, what's happening in Robert's life? But really, who knows? He's probably plugging himself into some weird story or something.
I mean, he's definitely a romantic. I think he always has an idea of what he wants to hear, but I think when it comes to lyrics, it seems like he's willing to put whatever fits into it at a certain point. I'm sure he has to say something. But it's like, when you're writing a chorus, like there's only enough room in there for a few words. It's sometimes to like, how much are you going to say with this?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, and he seems definitely really good at like, if it's a goofy song, he's going to just get little weird wacky.
Yeah.
This is like cool cocaine song or whatever, as opposed to like some song. Yeah, I feel like definitely like Morris is just gonna sing his fucking journal over whatever anybody's playing, and that's why it works sometimes and it doesn't work a lot of times, or he's just like, well, the lyrics are great, but whatever, and he's just gonna blame the band or whatever, he's gonna sing that over whatever they play, and it's like. But yeah, I think it makes total sense that like for like a peppy whatever pop song, he's not gonna. He knows that, so he's not going to throw his like lyrics over some like.
He doesn't need to throw his black heart into it.
And it makes total sense.
Yeah, and I definitely noticed that with the swingier songs, which is like. He's just having fun.
Hey. And it's kind of cool to see somebody that's always kind of painted over. Yeah, did you have any like preconceived notions of just based on his image and stuff that everything would be like this super melodramatic? Did you know there's a fun side to the
I never really pegged them for like melodrama.
Yeah.
But I was definitely expecting like a little something heavier.
Yeah, that's what's funny with these
heavier topics, I guess.
Yeah, because these really do almost lean towards the pop side. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I guess staring at the sea or standing on the beach kind of gives you a little taste of it more with those early years, but like, yeah, I mean, because they are the singles, you really kind of get the wacky Bob side more than like, it was just kind of sad. Like in hindsight, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, you should hear some more of his like really dark shit. Because he'll get there, man. But at the same time, when you, and there's no real reason why those can't be singles. I don't get it. You know, like I guess they just want radio play and nobody wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I would, but nobody else. Apparently, the popular people don't want to hear. But I don't know. Any other? What about cover art? How did you feel? Did you see those when you? were able to track it down.
Staring at the Sea is a really cool album cover.
Just like a really close up. This old man.
Just a close up of an old man.
Yeah, it's I checked it down. There's not too much history on either of them, but based on like the Never Enough book and what you can find online, it says the man featured on the album cover is this old feller named John Button, and he's a retired fisherman. And he seemed to fit it. I don't know who tracked him down or what, but he seemed to. They made like a video for the video release. They didn't have one for Killing an Arab Forever, but they just follow him around, walking around. He's smoking. And apparently, I had no clue who the Cure was or any connection, maybe. But
didn't know CDs existed.
He did have a quote. He said, he's like, what? Sounds like bullshit to me, Mike. But he said, if I can help these youngsters break through, after all, why not? He also reportedly said that he would buy a player and listen to one of the band's songs out of curiosity, just to see.
Just one song.
And by this point, I think they're doing all right. But I think he really did help them. Yeah, he broke them through, I think.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, it definitely stands out. And I think if you were looking at a rack of CDs and saw that, it's just the guy's
good old man face.
For sure.
Yeah, and then they flipped the coin and
put a baby
on the next one. Yeah,
trying to shave,
eating ice cream. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like.
I think it's eating.
I thought they were like
shaving a baby.
Yeah, I thought it was like a fancy shaving brush.
Yeah,
that's what I thought it was.
That'd be better.
That baby's eating ice cream.
Yeah, I think it's eating ice cream. Shaving baby.
That baby's too young for shaving.
What's with this thing? Horns and shaving baby. Yeah, not too much scoop on that one. They said that the baby is Isabel Caroline Slark, but I don't really know much beyond that. I'm assuming, if I had to guess, because around this time he's like catching up with a lot of his billion nieces and nephews. Robert Smith apparently has a giant extended family, so maybe there's a family connection.
Yeah, probably. And it seems like,
but maybe not. I don't know the Slark name.
I mean,
the House of Slarks.
It seems like the theme of beach, ocean.
Yeah, kind of fits.
Like Infinite Space is like in both of these.
Yeah, and just
maybe Rob's a beach guy.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, he's mentioned that.
Yeah,
so you're on to
like
something.
Where exactly is he from?
Crawley, England. Not too far from London, but my geography's a little bit. I kind of want to do a whole episode maybe just on his whole hometown and like. But it sounds like just kind of suburbs outside of London. Is it like a port town? Maybe I believe. I might be way wrong in that, but yeah, I kind of look forward to thinking. But he's always definitely mentioned big love of the sea.
Yeah, I mean, when you grow up around something like that, I'm sure it's like
sticks with you.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, every time I see the ocean, we live in the mountains, I'm always like,
oh, you don't like it? You're not a big
fan? No, I love the ocean. It's just like one of those things where it's like, you kind of forget how big it is. For sure. You forget you can't see another time.
Yeah, it's definitely...
there's definitely... And I bet he used it pretty often as like a metaphor, like as a starting point to write. It's just like there's just so much that could be out there.
Yeah, a lot of oceans and wave references. There's always like those 10 cure words you could put in every song, like never, blood, eyes, lips, ocean. Yeah, I think those are all pretty. Yeah, spiders. You can pretty much fit those all into everyone.
It's into every cure song.
Oh,
so, I think it is funny that. It seems like so you think that this is one of his nieces.
Maybe.
And we don't know anything about this picture. But we know a lot about this picture. But we don't know anything about this guy.
Man,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think he has any connection, like family-wise or anything. But yeah, sadly, probably not among the living anymore. Thinking
I was not born when this album
came out. I didn't want to bring it up.
He doesn't look like a young man.
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? This modern day and age. Still going, motherfuckers. Don't count me out.
Still catching whatever fish are off the coast of England.
John Button. Still catching them. It was like, shit. All right. Sorry, man. But, yeah, hopefully the baby's doing well and eating ice cream still.
Maybe
I guess the baby's probably like, how many years is that? About like 25 years old now. Is that right?
It's 22, 21
14.
Years. Yeah.
So this baby's drinking beers now.
Yeah. They were drinking beers before I was because they live in England.
Oh, yeah.
Our country is so
baby probably drank a beer after that photo shoot.
For sure. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder if somebody could recreate that photo. Isabel out there.
Thing. Yeah,
never ready for another singles collection.
So what do you think the singles on the new album are?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe just like this kid drinking a beer at the grave of John Button. That would be rad.
Next to the Button grave.
Fucking hanging out with Button, that would be rad. I don't know what kind of picture I make.
For how romantic Robert Smith is, for some reason, I feel like he's not that sentimental.
What? That's a terrible idea.
Kind of corny.
Kind of obvious. Well, no, It's like she didn't have to be drinking a beer. She'd be eating ice cream. That'd be cool. Yeah. Shit, man. Well, I don't know. Maybe we should wrap it on up. Any other thoughts? Or
I think I'm probably going to listen to more of The Cure.
Yeah, do you think of which era from this then? You would probably, maybe the Forest era?
I'm probably going to I'm probably going to listen to Staring at the Sea a few more times and then kind of hone in on what my favorite is and pick whatever album that's from.
Awesome. Well, I will just happen to say that 17 Seconds, the album that A Force is on.
Okay.
Very short, concise album.
Nice. That's
and
my favorite.
Definitely fits in that mood. And I think you'll love it. It's
cool.
Yeah. And then when you just want it to get a little darker, just go chronologically.
Yeah. And you'll figure out where it stops getting dark.
When you're ready for some horns, you know where to go. But I can't thank you enough, man.
This was really fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think hopefully it wasn't too torturous talking about.
No, sir.
Have you back and get your buddy in here too, man.
Yeah, I have so many Cure friends. That's what made me so nervous. I was just like, I know 3 guys he could be talking to that know way more about the Cure.
It's fun just hearing, like I said, fresh ears perspective and stuff that, like, especially standing on the beach. I literally almost got in a fight with rednecks on the bus because I was listening to Standing on the Beach.
I forgot that used to happen.
Yeah.
The whole, hardcore period whenever, people get fights all the time.
Yeah, they were like metalhead, redneck guys on the bus, and I was listening to my Walkman, and I had just started it, and they're like, what are you listening to? Oh, The Cure. And he put it on, and he hit play, and it was the first... I'm like, you're gonna take this the wrong. And he's like, what is it? He's listening to Egyptian music.
People just crying.
Yeah, and it's just like he didn't even make it past that. He just used to fucking Metallica riffs and shit. And I was just like, oh man. I was like, oh. Part of me was just torn. I was like, well, let me fast forward to a song that kicks ass a little bit more. This one does once it gets going, but you're not hearing the. You're not worth it.
Never mind. It's going to take me forever to fast forward. CDs don't exist yet. I could just skip to it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of baggage in my ears, is what I'm getting at. Even with the later stuff. So thanks so much, man. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone out there, thanks for listening. Let us know if you had to battle these two. Standing on the Beach versus Galore. Where do you stand? Pros and cons of both. Be sure to find us online. And we like to sign off with the classic line from Pump Up the Volume. Christian Slater, familiar? Remember, he gets a ham radio.
Was he in Heathers?
And yeah. And there's another film called Pump Up the Volume where in his high school, and he moves to Arizona, and he's hiding in his basement, and he starts a radio station, a pirate radio station, and he tells the teens to like not deal with the bullshit of their high school.
Now we're gonna listen to an extra long version of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Yeah, he throws on some good stuff, some Leonard Cohen, like a lot of good stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they always signs off with "Talk Hard." Somehow in the first episode that became our
Talk Hard.
So we say "Talk Hard." Thanks for listening. All right, again, a very special thanks to Clarke out there. What a guy. I hope this launches a long, lovely relationship for him and The Cure, but no pressure. But thanks, Clarke, out there. If you ever want a Cure mix or a Cure album in particular, feel free to hit me up, man. And yeah, thanks to you guys for listening out there. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you don't miss an episode. And leave us a comment over there. It's been a while. We've got all nice ones up right now, but so many other shows have tons of comments. What do you got to do to get comments? So part of me's torn. You know, do I just stay with my cozy few nice comments? I don't know. Let's see. Be sure to find us on Instagram. You can find us on there, the Holy Hour Podcast on Instagram, and the Facebook page where you can communicate, talk about specific episodes, and drop me a line. Or if you just want to drop me a line directly at gavinconner@gmail.com, that would be cool. Say hey, any thoughts or concerns, and you can also send me stuff through there, right? So just record yourself and your friends talking about The Cure. You know you want to just have a nice Friday night where you and a buddy sit down and talk about The Cure, however relevant. We would love to incorporate that into a show. Or just keep your ears and eyes peeled for any topics that you know are coming up. And you can send us as much or as little as you want through that. And always willing to hear you out. So yeah, on top of that, be sure to check out our buddy Chaz's Cure Shirts website, where he has some awesome, cool Cure shirts that pop up. You got to move fast and keep your eyes peeled because they sell out quick, and you got to get them on the pre-order. But to find all the coolest threads over there, go on over to 17secondshirts.bigcartel.com and hook yourself up with a cool Cure t-shirt. And our buddy Arusha just put out issue 2 of her Cure fanzine. So that's being sold exclusively, at the time of recording this, exclusively through remixgifts.com, who we love too. So go on over to remixgifts.com and you can find issue number 2, Push, a Cure fanzine. And you can hear all about firsthand stories of Cure fandom on the road, following the band, and all its glory. So go check that out and get yourself a copy. And until then, we got Blood Flowers coming up, guys. Brace yourselves. We'll talk to you soon.